All right, well, it's Crown Vic weekend. We got it squeezed in here, up in the air, and taken apart. And we're going to get these sway bars put on it, these shocks, these rear control arms and Watts links, and those headlights. Also got side markers too, and LED bulbs. And as happens when you're working on old car suspension, we had a little problem. We finally did get the strut out and apart. Well, we didn't get it apart yet, but we have it out. But the lower bolt that goes through the strut was rusted into the bushing, so there was no way to get the bolt out. So we cut the bottom of the shock open, and well, there's the sleeve too, and had to cut the bolt into pieces. Where is it? It's here somewhere. There's some of it. There's some of the sleeve. And I think I have the nut end up on the bench because I had to go over to my friend's shop and root through his junk bin of big bolts to find a replacement bolt for it. And it was, you know, a lot of destruction, hammers, chisels, impacts, air chisel. And yeah, but we're to the point where we can take the strut apart now and put it back in. See how well that goes. Next thing to do would be get this here nut loose, put some juice on it, probably chuck it up in the vise, put the clamp on it, the spring clamp, and start hammering on it. Well, that's about it for today. All we really managed to do was get one strut changed. There it is, it's in there. I had hoped to get both struts changed and get the front sway bar on and get the front all buttoned up, but hopefully we'll do that tomorrow. One other thing that we got done was we got our new tires mounted and balanced. There they are. The old tires were old, hard, and had absolutely no traction in the wet. All right, here we are about to start day 2 of the Crown Victoria suspension upgrade. Still got all our stuff on the workbench here. We started in at the passenger side. Trying to get the upper ball joint nut off now. To do that, we put some downward pressure on the control arm so the taper in the ball joint will give it some resistance so you can get the nut off. There's also a hex hole in the ball joint stud. Up in here. So we'll get something on that next, because this is where the other side fought pretty good. It's like you got that much thread to go and it's just stuck really good, partially because there's a little bit of rust on the threads, and partially because there's no tension on it, because the the taper in the ball joint doesn't really offer a lot of resistance when you pull it down like this. So using the impact on the nut just kind of makes the whole thing spin. So you got to use a Allen type socket up in that hole. But hey, we'll get it. That's not that difficult, but that bolt right there, the bottom strut bolt, was a huge challenge on the other side, and I suspect this will be a challenge too. So we'll get it. Probably have to use, like we did on the other side, cutter, air chisel, pry bars, hammers, chisels, pretty much everything to get that thing out. All right, let me get to it. All right, so we're making some serious progress here. We got the old strut out. Put the old spring on the new strut with the new bushings and all that goodness. So that should be good to go. We ended up not cutting the bottom out of the shock on this side. But it did take 2 hours to cut that bolt out of there. The front part went pretty easy. So this part here, that went pretty easy. Just, you know, put the cutting wheel up in here and got right through it in a few minutes. The back side, unfortunately, I got it up there and couldn't quite get through it all. So then I did the same thing on the end of the bolt on this side, and you know, hammers, chisels, air chisels, and finally I got it thin enough that I actually could get the Sawzall in there and finish it off. But this is what we're talking about. I believe this is a 16 millimeter bolt with 2 millimeter pitch threads. So I only found one in my mechanics junk buckets yesterday, so we're gonna go off to the hardware store and see if we can get one of these. It's about 3 1/4, 3.5 inches long, and then we can throw the strut back in there. But yeah, we're on the downside in the front right now. We're done taking stuff apart. We're starting to put it back together. All right. Well, we were able to get our suspension all back together. We got our nice big ADTR sway bar on there. Over this side where there's some light. So there's our sway bar. We put the new links on it, our new KYB struts, and that was a day and a half worth of work. A little more than I had anticipated. But we're going to get all these bolts torqued down, put the calipers back on, get the wheels on it, and move on to the back. All right, we got the front all done, put back together, wheels on it and on the ground. Now it's on to the back. Thinking this is going to work out easier. Placing the shocks, the sway bar, and put the big ADTR sway bar on it, and ADTR's control arms and Watts Link arms. Well, we didn't get it done this weekend. However, we did cut the rear sway bar and shocks off this morning and put the new ADTR bigger rear sway bar on it and the rear KYB shocks. So got it back down, test drove it. It's a huge difference. Of course, with something like this and most vehicles, the sway bars are going to make a big difference. And the front one is a little bigger than the one that came off of it. The back one is a lot bigger than what came off of it. And it's pretty nice. I don't know if you noticed in the video earlier, the upper control arm bushings on the front aren't in the greatest looking shape either. So we'll have it in again and be taking that apart anyway to put new control arms on the front. And hopefully at that time we'll stick our rear control arms and Watts link in. And probably sometime during the week we'll probably start headlight swapping. But that's it for today. Well, that's it for Memorial Day weekend, actually.